Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are once again doing our top 100 games of all time in 2024. And like I always say, whenever we do our top 100, as soon as we finish ranking them, they're immediately outdated.
Very much so.
But it's always an excuse for us to talk about games that aren't typically going to be showing up, and a lot of top 10s, or there's just so many games that we have, and over the years, and I actually have data on this, which is going to be super interesting. I have until from 2017 is when we did our top 100.
I have that, but on the doc that I'm looking at, I only have like the last 2 years.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah. I'm just saying that we've been doing it for 7 years
okay, gotcha.
at least. But yeah, I always go back to at least 2 years, just for rising and falling and all that. But here's what's interesting. Here's what I actually did something different this year. So, of course, so for the past couple years, I've basically taken my Board Game Geek collection, because I actually keep it up to date, which I think I'm the only person who does that. And then I import that onto PubMeeple, and then I typically, like I said, in the past 2 years, I've actually curated it. I've looked at the games. I'm like, there's no way that this is ever making the top 100. Not even getting close. So I delete it. And then I kind of go over games that I still have in my collection. And then that ranks about 200 out of 200 games. This year, I did not do that. I took every game I own. And I also removed games I don't own. Because if I'm going to say top 100, I feel like I should own the games, which as I'm looking at my list, that's actually not the case for one of them anymore. Which is funny. Like I said, outdated. But anyway, so I actually took every game that I own and I ranked it against all that. But then after I got my top 100, I redid my PubMeeple ranking with those 100. So it was like the best of the best. And then now I wanted to see how it fell. Because if you're taking like Oathsworn, that we know is going to be super high for me, and you pair it up against, and then we held hands, gee, I wonder which one's going to win. And if it always beats out the shitty games, I feel like the stats are going to inflate it. So I'm curious to see. It did change. But yeah, that's not all. That's what I also did is I went back 5 years, so 2024 all the way to 2020, and I counted how many games rose and fell and how many were cooperative and how many were competitive, because I wanted to see if my tastes actually changed. And my theory on that new games, games that either are new to the list, if they fall or if they stay around the same. So I have that data as well, which I'll spring in every now and then because it's fun to have data.
Well, you did more than I did. I started the same way you did. I put all my VGG stuff and then added games, because there will be games on this list that I don't own because they're big sprawling games that other people own that I don't need to buy.
Yeah,
but they're definitely worth this list. But I got rid of the ones that had no shot. And then so pretty much all party games, and then I did the ranking, and then I fudged it around a little bit. It's a good idea. I might do that next year, is do the top 100 again like you did, because that does make a lot of sense. I've never thought of doing that. But
right.
But
I mean, because
go ahead.
I was gonna say, because with PubMeeple, I mean, when you're doing 300 or so games, it's thousands of ranking. It takes forever. I watched Paul Grogan do his collection one year, and it was like 5 videos of 2 hours each of him actually talking about the comparisons. And I started to do that. I'm like, oh, that'd be fun. Go over my process of why I pick games. And then I got like 20 rankings in. I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah, it'd take forever.
It really would.
What you will notice with this list, though, is I was very surprised, and I didn't fudge this because it makes sense, but there is probably a good maybe 20 games, maybe even more, that were in my top 100 that have fallen off.
Really?
Like
Okay.
games that have been in my top 100 for the last few years are not on there anymore.
Interesting.
So, and there's a lot of new stuff that's pulled in, and I
Right.
think that's because my tastes have changed a lot the last
Yeah.
year or two. So, I'm interested to see, you know, let's see
Yeah.
what you think about that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So enough preamble. Well, a little bit more preamble. I'll start off with this. In 2024, I have 35 games that rose, 40 that fell, 24 that are new, and two that stayed the same. But what's actually interesting is I have 53 cooperative games to 48 competitive games.
You're
And
close.
that kind of got that kind of got a little weird, like give or take a few, because there's like semi co-op or whatever, some games that are kind of hard to you know put into either category, which would be I guess semi cooperative. But that was actually fascinating to me because my tastes I thought had leaned a lot heavier into the cooperative,
Mhm.
but I still got a lot of competitive games in my top 100. Like it's
I will
only
slow. Oh, sorry,
I was gonna say
I
it's
didn't
only
make it tough.
five game difference, five cooperative game difference.
I will, as we go through this list, I will be looking at between my games, and I can tell you like how a bit the overall. I won't be able to tell you cooperative and stuff without it taking too long, but I can tell you overall how many rose and fell and all that. I'll work on that
Okay,
here between
cool.
stuff.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and finally get started with the first edition of our top 100 games of all time. In 2024, I for this segment I have three that are new. And there were actually some that I noticed that had joined back on the list, but they had been on it like 5 years ago. So I was like, I think I categorized those as new,
Yeah,
because I just didn't go that far back. But yeah, three that are new, four that fell, two that rose, and one stayed the same.
I have four that are new to the list, one that rose, and six fell.
Six fell. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start with the honorable mention, the game that didn't quite make the top 100. So it's basically trash. And for me, this one is actually a new one, and it is an Ultimate Edition for a game that's already been out a few years ago. And I did not like the first edition of that, but this Ultimate Edition cleans some things up, makes it a little bit more presentable, and my tastes and kind of appreciation of this game has flourished since I got it. And that is hoping it's the right one. Yes, okay. Assault on Doomrock, the Ultimate Edition, which I mean, apparently not ultimate enough because they're about to go back on GameFound for an expansion.
Of course they are.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Um, so Assault on Doomrock was always an interesting concept whenever it initially came out because it's very minimalist with its combat, for example. There's no hexes or anything. Like in combat, you are either engaged or disengaged with an enemy. There's no like moving, I mean, there is movement, but you're either moving away from an enemy or moving to a terrain piece. Um, in this style. But what makes me really like this game is that this is kind of a roguelike version of a game. And from playing the first edition to now, roguelikes are some of my favorite games, like video games to play, and they're very, very difficult to get as a board game because roguelikes, the shtick about them is that when you die, you immediately reset and jump, and you're right back in. Procedurally generated, dungeons or whatever. Think Dead Cells or anything like that. But there is a video game called Gunfire Reborn that I absolutely love that is centered around kind of making you busted to be able to make it through the run. And Assault on Doomrock gives me that same type of feeling. There are hundreds of ability cards, hundreds of items and chests, and not hundreds of locations, but you're essentially going into a town and then you have different levels of locations you're going to and a certain amount of time to do things at each one of these locations before you eventually go and fight a various enemy of level 1, 2, or 3. But what's really cool is you are given a character and then some adjective like stinky dwarf. And your stinky ability, I mean, it's actually good, and you have a special effect just from the get-go. But then you start getting wacky powers. Like this person has, whether they are I can't read the left card, but it's a Viking. I'm looking at the bottom right card. Everyone has a maneuver, so you can move, but they have laser eyes and shield throw. So you eventually start just getting these abilities that, yes, you need dice. You have to roll dice to be able to use them. Um, but playing this cooperatively is just so much fun. Whenever you're getting items, wacky, busted, really cool items, you're able to be like, "Ooh, who would this be better for?" Hey, I got this cool laser eye ability. That would be really cool with your synergistic ability that lets you fire off a maneuver twice or something. It's so you can laser beam twice. It's it's just crazy. You don't go into this game. I mean, it's a very hard game because of just the way combat works. I'm still not the biggest fan of combat. What puts us up here is the character builds and just I mean, everything kind of goes with everything. And yeah, you can have multiple items. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty
There you
neat
go.
thing. Yeah, you don't
Go
just get
figure.
one item and nothing else. We're never going to let that game live that down. But yeah, so that's my honorable mention, Assault on Doomrock.
I've always been interested in this one. I see the cover with like the first person, deal.
Yeah.
It's always looked
Oh,
fun to
from
me.
the
The old
first
original.
edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well,
yep,
add it to the list. We got a Google Doc now.
that's true. That's true. All right. While you were talking about that, I did my figuring of my list for the
While you were
Rosenfeld real quick. Mine's
while you were
pretty.
talking about that, I had an epiphany. I don't want to do this.
No. Mine's
Log
pretty
out.
symmetrical. So I had 36 that rose, 36 that fell, two that were the same, and 27 new to the list.
Wow. Okay. All
So
right.
it'll be an
Nice.
interesting deal. So, all right. My honorable mention is a game that I showed you. And it's a game that I take with me a lot of times when I know there's going to be new or fairly new gamers or people that just want to pick up something that's easy to learn. And it's kind of got a uh, unique theme to it, and that is First Rat.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
this one was 33 last year.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it dropped quite a bit, and it's still. I mean, obviously, it's still on this list, but it's just one of those that um, it. I've played it so much that I've kind of got it. The only time I ever play it's when I'm like the situation I said before, where like when I have somebody I want to teach it to that's a super easy teach. If we're having a game day with a bunch of people I don't know, this is an easy one to get learned and stuff. I mean, it took 5 minutes to teach you, if that, and it was a pretty simple deal. But the theme of it is like you're these mice, and you're trying to build the rocket ship to be the first rat to get to the cheese moon, and and you're just moving through these spaces as you move from your burrow all the way to the top. But you gather resources every time you land on these spots, but you can also increase the light bulbs, which are the little deals over here. And as you increase those, then you can always choose to steal when you get to these locations. If you do, you fall back to your burrow. But then that's a good thing a lot of times, because then you start going back to those spots, and every spot you land on that is preceded by or is within that range of your light bulbs, you get double the resources. So you can really start piling in. I mean, you could run your guys up and just go to the top and do that, but you're not going to win that way. Like you need to get those double resources. You need to buy certain things, and then there's a lot of scoring at the end, and there's all these different little tracks that you're trying to be the first to get your cubes on and stuff, and you're unlocking more mice. There's a lot of cool stuff with this, and it's like I said, it's just kind of it's a cutesy, pretty simple game. It has a double-sided board. The original board just has, this is the back side of the board, because the little oval tiles are placed, and they're randomized when you do the back side of the board, instead of being you know, solid on the other side.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, and there's little modules that you can throw in. There's like superhero mice that you can go and you can put in all that stuff, and they do special things. And we didn't play with that,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, this is just a nice, simple little game with just enough meat to it to kind of keep gamers happy. But
that's true.
it's pretty simple for new people too.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a solid one. I did not dislike it.
Yep.
Nice. All right. My number 100 is also new to the list. And this is one that I actually had it for quite some time, along with its expansion. Finally got it played. And man, it's just super solid. I think this is one you would very much like. And that is Iki, the
Ew,
game. Well,
Japanese.
I guess that's true. Oh yeah, I forgot you're racist. So start that narrative. Ew, Japanese people, gross. Um, yeah, I forgot you don't like feudal Japan, but this
Every
game,
once in a while.
uh, yeah, I think you like it a lot more than you let off. Because every time I show you a feudal Japan game, you're like, oh, I gotta get
Well, I
it.
like Yido. Yido is probably one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
Edo, Philosophia was
And that
one
one kind of wore off on me. Like I was
that
excited
also.
when we first played, and
I haven't
I'm
touched it since.
I'm trying to get rid of it actually.
Yeah. But Iki is a worker placement game where you are basically building shops around the market. I can't remember the name of what it's actually called, but it's during the Edo period in feudal Japan. And what you do is you have kind of like your main worker that goes around to various buildings, and you have workers that are also in those spots, and those are your shops to gather you resources and various actions that you want to do. But you're also trying to kind of area control these shops because you get multipliers for various scoring events throughout the game. And where you land gives you access to more shops, but where you're putting your shops is super beneficial, but also puts you at risk of these fires that can break out. And you kind of have to have a fire strength, a firefighting strength to be able to put it out. Otherwise, if you don't go up on that track, then you're basically going to lose your shop, and then it's just going to burn down through that market stall. But uh, what you're doing is you're also gaining these resources to build really prestigious buildings that will give you tons of different scoring opportunities. The I think this picture might be from the original because I'm
Well, it
like,
looks like a
there's,
prototype almost is what I was
or
going
it's a
to say.
prototype. Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, my copy
Yeah.
doesn't look like this. Um, but yeah, you're buying fish, you're buying tobacco and weed, tobacco and pipes for scoring multipliers, and I just really like how this game works. You go through the four seasons, which give you different types of buildings that are available to you to put out. And that rondel kind of movement, which I mean, who doesn't love rondels? And I just really love that you can have your shop opportunities and you're putting them in strategic positions because the order of operations of when you're bidding for initiative also indicates how far you can move. And that can be very tight whenever you're like, okay, I really need to get some rice, or I need to get some wood. And I need to move two spaces. Otherwise, and you can have sandals that can minimize your movement. But if you don't have any of those, you're at the whim of what the initiative is, and you kind of have to go in that specific number. So you might leap over the buildings you need to. So you're trying to make the best of any given situation. Um, the expansion, I think it's called Akabono, could be totally pronouncing that incorrectly, adds a new area that you can go to. It's at the end of the market area that lets you meet guests, which give you special abilities. Also allows you to kind of get you can start hiring boats that give you special abilities, and then also new people and new buildings that you can get. So it's just a extremely solid. I don't even know if it's worker placement because yeah, you have your people that are working in the stalls, but ultimately I don't know. It's definitely not worker placement. I don't know what it is, but it is Euro E, and I mean, I almost got no complaints. I thought the expansion was fantastic, and the how easy this game is to learn, but also not wearing out its welcome after a couple plays, where it's like, oh man, this game's so simple to learn. And then you play and you're like, I see now why it's so simple to learn because there's nothing else to it. This game has some legs, so I really enjoy it, and that is Iki.
Right. My number 100 is new to the list, and it's one of those games that when I made this list a while back, we had only played it like once or twice, and then we had our big game day a few week like a week or two ago, and we played it a bunch. So it'd definitely be higher on this list now. So I anticipate it will be next year quite a bit higher, and that is
Oh,
Agemonia.
nice.
Um, I felt like it needed to be on this list. That's just after that one or two plays we did, but then it just keeps growing, and
Hmm.
stuff. So it definitely would have been higher. But this is, the newest campaign game we're doing for the channel, and I don't have my copy yet because I've been playing yours. And this one it has a unique system with the way you play the game. Like there's a lot of campaign games out there that do different things, but I really enjoy the oh gosh, can't even think of the word right now. It's too early in the morning. The chips, those are your energy
Oh, yeah,
or
stamina or whatever.
stamina. That's the word I'm looking for, stamina. But so you have your stamina, and they also double as your health and stuff too. Um, every character's unique that I can see. I mean, we've only used the two so far, but
Hmm.
they also do that awesome thing where they have a map book, and
Hmm.
that is just top notch. A map book. Uh,
More of that. I never
yeah,
want to see tiles again.
yeah, yeah, and and then you have you have these story cards depending on what chapter you're in the campaign. There's all these different numbered places on the map that you can go and explore. Some of them may add cards to the map that are locations you can go into, just like that one you did where it added the crypt and you went down into the crypt, and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And
that
it's
was cool. That was very nice. Because if that was any other game, it'd be like, oh, bust out the 14 tiles.
right.
And it's like, oh, I'll bust out the razor blade to cut my wrist.
Yeah.
It's like, I fucking don't want to do this.
And so yeah, and I like how they have that. I mean, you're choosing your actions beforehand. um and when we started the campaign, we noticed that the first play we did, it wasn't a big deal, but like the initiative system popped up, so then you're picking your actions not knowing necessarily who's going to go first,
Hmm.
whether it's the monsters or all that. So there's just a lot. We've only really scratched the surface of this. There's a lot of missions that we still have
Yeah.
and stuff, but I can already feel like our characters are getting pretty cool. You can hold multiple items again.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have two hand slots, but that's it. Then everything else goes in your backpack and
Right.
it has like a weight limit. So you could have, I'm assuming you could have like three helmets as long as it upholds the five weight limit thing and you
Yeah.
just get the abilities to that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's interesting. Yeah, the one thing I'm not super sold on with this, I don't hate it. Like it's not game breaking or anything, but that like you already mentioned that the initiative system,
Yeah.
like it's weird because I think, like for example, Madara, which is like my staple of comparison for campaign games, you have initiative cards that of all the enemies that are on the map and then all the characters, and you shuffle those and then you reveal them every round. Now I think there's a variant where it stays that way, but the way I've always played it is every round you shuffle those and reveal them. Somehow that's better than what this game does, even though it's still semi-random. Like you
Right.
don't know if all the enemies are going to go before you, and then all of you. I don't know, or hell, the initiative system in Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Somehow this one just feels different,
Mhm.
and I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and another little tiny thing I like about this that we noticed on that last game day was you gain these items, like chits, whether it's flowers or metals or stones and all that stuff. And they're all different shaped. And we found out, after looking around that because the metal coins that come with the game are shaped in the same. So, their value by just looking at that. If it's a hexagon, it's going to be worth this. If it's a, pentagon, it's worth this and all that stuff. It's just kind of a neat little
that is a nice quick reference. You don't have to be like, oh, how much is this worth? So let's look in the rule book. Yeah, I'm very excited to dive more into this. The one negative I've heard from people who have played this more is going to town becomes kind of tedious, which I have slightly felt a little bit, where it's like, why are we in town? There's nothing for us to do.
Yeah, because we only made one town stop so far, and it was kind of confusing to me. Like, okay, when do you spend the town action token?
Yeah, we have these tokens like that we have to have an event before we can use them. It's weird.
But maybe we'll get used to it the further we get into it too.
Yeah.
So
other than that, yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's my 100. Probably would be higher.
Nice. My number 99 fell. It was 95 last year and 80 the year before. I imagine this will always be somewhere on my list. Where, I don't know. And this is actually interesting because my theory on what rises and falls is based off recency. How recently have you played it? And if you still liked it, of course. If you hated it and you're like, well, it wouldn't be on the list. But I have replayed this and it went over extremely well because I tried all the little mini expansions, but yet it still fell. So I don't know. And that is Sagrada. I was like, where is it? And this is regular Sagrada. You could lump in Sagrada Artisans here if you really want to. I did not because I own everything for Sagrada at this point. And I mean, Sagrada is just such a fantastic dice placement game. It's absolutely gorgeous, very easy to get people into. I think every time I've played this with someone, they've loved it. And people who aren't in my immediate gaming group have went out and bought their own copy because it's just that accessible. I mean, this picture alone is just gorgeous.
I went and bought it after playing it with you.
Yeah, I mean exactly. And I don't know if that's the game or just me as a player. You enjoyed my company, so dude, I have two friends and I just need more gaming people. I don't like you. Yeah, and I love Floodgate games. Ben, the founder of Floodgate, is such a genuinely nice person. And I remember back whenever my channel was raunchier than it was, he was nice enough to still send me a copy of this before, where it was difficult to even get your hands on. And that was one of my first like finalized copy reviews that I was sent, which was awesome. But they've supported this game a lot more than I thought they would have with like the three. Oh, there are three mini expansions. I think it's Glory, Passion, and Life are these three mini, and they have a 5 to 6 player expansion and stuff. But those three mini expansions, I think, are very much worth getting because they give you a ton of different modules to throw into the game. But even if you have the base game, just the different window styles you're going to get, the different tool cards you're going to use to help you break the game. And that dice drafting is just, that spatial awareness thing just does it for me. It is a gorgeous game and I absolutely love it. So, and if you love, oh my God, if you love coloring, then get Sagrada Artisans. Because that's like a fun couples game, I feel. Like, I played that, funny enough, with my ex-wife, and maybe that was when we both sat there, we were coloring. We're just like, it's over.
So as Artisans, is it cooperative or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not. I don't know why I said that. It's not.
Okay. I haven't played it yet. I have a copy of Stone Shrink, but
yeah, it's Sagrada Artisans is competitive and legacy-ish, but they make it to where like you can just. That was my only issue with Artisans. Is like it was a very nice, relaxing competitive game. But then whenever you're done, it's just like, hey, you can just play this, and it's like, why? I have Sagrada. So but I mean, the coloring shtick of Artisans was very relaxing if you're into that kind of thing. So, yeah,
All right.
that's my 99 Sagrada.
All right. Well, my number 99 was 82 last year. It fell just, a little ways. And it's a game that has been around for quite a while. The original iteration of this game would have come out in 2014, but let me get back to this. It implemented an old game called Constantinople, and this one is Istanbul Big Box.
Istanbul.
Um,
Nice.
So
Where
this
was
one
this?
throws the expansions in. That's why I put this one on here.
I still have never played those. I have
Yeah,
not touched either.
the one, the Mocha one is a good one. I haven't messed with the letters one as much,
Okay.
but in this one, I mean, this one was one of the first games I played where, you lay out these tiles that make up the town, and each tile has its own little special action you can do there for the most part, and you get to you have a stack of tokens of little discs with your artisan on, or with your person on top, your merchant, I guess, and you move from tile to tile. But if you move, you drop off. They're called assistants because you're bringing your group of assistants with you. So if you move two rectangles, you have to drop an assistant off, or you can move back and pick them up. So it's kind of like you're stretching out about as far as you can go, and then you need to backtrack, unless you go to the well, or I think it's called the well. And then if you move to the well, then it retracts everybody back to you, and then you can start going from there again. The whole goal of the game is you're trying to gain, I think it's 5 rubies, I think wins the game, I want to say. You're collecting rubies. Whoever gets, it's almost like a race game in a weird way, because whoever gets X number of rubies first wins. And you have your own little wheelbarrow thing that you really can't see on the picture. It's kind of just off screen, but so you can only hold a certain number of resources. You can buy extensions to your wheelbarrow that'll let you hold a little bit more stuff. You also have to
Which
be
I
watching
think you
out.
need. I think you have.
Oh god, you need to.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, can you win without getting any?
I mean, if you're playing somebody shitty, yeah. But I mean, if you're playing
I
somebody
wasn't
that
even
knows
sure
the
if it was
game.
possible.
Then there's I think these tall ones that will be moving around randomly throughout the deal. One of them arrests your artisan and puts him in jail. Another one is oh gosh, I can't remember what they call him, but you can like bribe him and he'll like do stuff for you and stuff. And
Oh,
yeah.
I
So,
don't have that expansion.
but but anyways, there's a lot of replayability with this, even though you know the tiles and do stuff, because that fountain that's in the middle right here is always in the middle. But then everything else you could just randomize and just throw them out there. Like there's a suggested setup, at the beginning, but then once you know the game, you can just throw them out, and it changes because of how far you have to move, and picking up discs and dropping off discs and stuff. And I think that's what made me enjoy this that very first time I played it was, oh man, it's cool. You're dropping off discs and you have to make that idea of whether to backtrack on your turn or, do different things. And it's just it ended up being a really cool one. And, it's always been on this list since I played it that time. I mean, I know it's getting close to falling off, but it's still hanging in there.
Yeah. This was my 177. And I mean, I completely agree with you. I really like this game. So I mean, I can't explain why it's so far down. But I actually have also played this game recently. I was showing it to, at the time, it was a girl I was dating. Maybe that's why. I'm just like, fuck you, bitch. 177. No, it is really good. Like I was like, and it was nice because I hadn't touched it in so long.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was playing, I was like, man, this is super solid.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure.
All right. My number 98 is new to the list. But I don't think it's new to the top 100. I'm sure at some point it was in there, but I considered it new. If I couldn't find it in 2023, 3 of 2022, and this is I'm encapsulating basically every box of this. I actually just played the newest version, so this could be recency bias because I was just reminded of how fun and how excited I get when a new box comes out, and that is the Unlock series. This one is actually, I did say Epic Adventures. This one is not my favorite, but this is a very good box. I can't remember which one's my favorite. I think it's like Supernatural something. But I mean, this came out, I believe, the same year that the Exit series came out, and there was a lot of
Yes.
these games that were these escape room style games that at the time, Unlock was only like a pack. It was one adventure, like the Exit series, except with Unlock, you don't destroy anything. And then I think they've since done away with single pack, and now they always come in threes. And they're very affordable. It's like a box is like $30, so it's like $10 a pack, and they take at least an hour. Unless you're very good at them, which I am not, it takes at least an hour. And some of the harder ones are an hour and a half to that of the time limit that they give you. But man, like I always have fun with these. These are just a blast to either like if I'm playing with my girlfriend or if I'm playing with a friend that every time like he's since moved to a completely different state and we never talk, but every time a new box comes out, he asks me if I've played it because we'll talk about the different adventures. Um, and for the most part, they knock it out of the park. They're so much fun to do. They've gotten extremely creative with their app, and and they've gotten a lot more creative since it originally came out. The original boxes were just a glorified timer, but
Hmm.
now it's using your camera, it's using the settings of your phone. Some of the clues and puzzles I feel are very left field, but they make it extremely atmospheric. Every single adventure has either sound design or music, thematic music for the setting that you're in. And with this newest one, I felt like it wasn't super amazing, but I still had a good time with two out of the three. Even the third one that I didn't really care for as much was still pretty good. So I just love the Unlock series. I mean, at this point, I could probably go back to other boxes and redo them because it's been so long. But if you're looking for an escape room style game, I recommend jumping in at the very beginning, honestly, and just seeing kind of how they've progressed uh, over the years. I've completely done away with Exit. Exit is way too autistic for me, and I just don't find them fun. Because if you tear up a card or cut up the box incorrectly, it's like, well, guess that's that. Have to look up the hints because we can't complete it, even though it's only $15. It's like, okay, well, I'll pay $15 more and have a way better time with my unlock games.
Yeah,
So,
there's one I've played a few of the unlocks. Like the one that I want to get now is the Star Wars one. I haven't played that one
oh,
yet,
yep,
but
I
yeah.
have done that one. I actually still have the latest box, if you're wanting it, but I mean, I'm surprised they're still doing it, honestly. I can't imagine these will honestly stay in the top 100, but whenever I was ranking them, I had just done it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm always excited. Like I buy it immediately. Whenever I
Right.
find out that they released a new one, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, let me just go on Amazon real quick and buy it. Um, and then I immediately play them, and I almost play all three of them in a row. So the
I
Unlock
probably
series,
should try more.
I mean, I think you'd have a good time. There's
Yeah.
definitely ones that have wowed me for sure. And a lot of them, the story is fascinating. If you like escape rooms, honestly,
Hmm.
then these really capture that feeling without having to pay $80 a person
Right.
to fuck around with someone who put a padlock on a chest. They're like
Yeah.
$80. It's like okay. It's like why are they so expensive?
Yeah, I know.
Like I've gone to escape rooms that were really thematic, and I'm like, yes, this is worth the price here. But then you go to other ones, and it's like, okay, you put a fan in here. There was one I went to that they had a clue on a fan that was in the room, but it was summer and they had the fan going. I'm like, oh, this is so they don't have the room get super hot. And we were so mad. We were so. In fact, they had like some smut book in there. I don't even remember why. I think the theme was about some mad scientist altering zoo animals or something. But there was some smut book, and all we did was just read that.
Yeah.
Like we're like these clues suck. Like once that fan thing, they came in and turned the fan off, and they're like, "There's the number," and it's like, "Are you kidding me? It's 110 degrees outside. Like, why is
Yeah.
your clue on that?" But I digress. Number 98, the Unlocked series.
All right. My number 8 is a game that I don't have a ton of experience with, but I've just scratched the surface with this. But it's a game that you can play it with multiple people, but it's solo's the best for it. It came out, it was a Kickstarter, and it's a 2-box set. And I don't even know if it's anything you ever heard of, and that is Legends Untold.
No, I have no idea what this is.
This one it's an interesting little deal because you can play with it. Each box you can use 4 people for. So if you play with both boxes, you could run 8 players on this game, but it's best solo, like solo only. Like that's the BGG even says solo's the best, and it's pretty much what it is it's a card based dungeon crawl like adventure type game. But it sets up really fast because the boxes are about the size. I remember Unbroken, that game that you had.
I do the solo. Wait, yeah, the solo only where you're like slowly dying throughout the game. Okay.
Yeah, their boxes about that size.
Okay.
So you just go through and so the setup time's really fast. You're constantly doing stuff. So even if you were playing multiplayer, the downtime's not going to be a problem. And you're just working yourself through the adventure, and there's scenarios. I think each box has 7 or 8 scenarios, with a bunch of different things you can do. And there's traps and monsters and all this stuff, but it really rewards you working together. Because when you play solo, you're going to play multi-character, and you really need to work together with those to be able to accomplish different stuff. And it's got simple resolution of these things because there's 3d6 that you roll, and that's what resolves tests and stuff like that. And so it's not like I said, it's not a very big sprawling thing. Like they do that interesting thing with the cards being the dungeon, like as you explore, like you lay the cards out and it kind of connects. So you kind of it builds as you play. And you gather your items, you do different stuff. It's like I said, it fits my style of stuff because of being the solo play. There's other games that do this better, but I think just the quick setup with this, not having the tiles, you just have the deck, you start with the 1 card out. And then as you explore, the next card goes out, you place it, and you just do whatever comes up, And by the time you're over, your character seems pretty cool. Like this one, there's 2 different boxes. There's the Great Sewers, and then there's the Weeping Caves. So there's different heroes in each. So they're interchangeable though. I mean, you can put heroes into each and this and that. This came out in 2019, and there really hasn't been anything else for it. So
yeah, I don't even know who this company is.
Yeah, when you did the Kickstarter, there was a couple of packs you could open. They gave you more like items and more stuff you could throw into the deck and stuff like that. But it's, to be honest with you, and this isn't going to spoil a whole lot. Like Hero Realms is not on my list anymore.
Wow. But the company is so upstanding, and they don't steal money or embezzle it.
And that was one that was on my list for years and years.
Yeah.
And I liked it because of the
Star Realm shot up because they keep you got the foil set.
Yeah. Now, did you see they're going on the Kickstarter with another big box now?
The company needs to be investigated.
I know. But anyway, so this one almost kind of took the spot of the Hero Realms cooperative for me because all the deck building that had. This, you have your decks and you're doing different stuff, and it's small box, so this kind of takes the spot of that. And I think that's why they kind of flip-flopped in spaces and stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, this one,
Okay.
I think I said it was new to my list also. I don't know if I said that or not at the beginning.
Nice.
But,
Can you go back to the cover real quick? Because
yep.
I just want to point something out. I just want everyone to know, if I was in this situation, and let's say I'm that guy, that balding guy, um, even though it looks like he has a little hat on, and I'm using a shield, a magic shield to defend myself. And if this lady pulled out a recorder to help me, I'm letting the thing kill me.
Yes.
Like, play not crossbow. Sorry, it's out of tune. It's always out of tune. And then I
Well,
drop my shield, and then that acid vomit just melts me alive.
the thing that always cracks me up too is like that the font that's at the bottom, the Great Sewers Novice set.
Hmm.
That font is used. I have a thing for seeing fonts. This is like an Agemonia. I said like, that's the same font that they use in Gloomhaven.
You did. It
Then
was your Rain Man moment.
I know, and this one is the same font they use in all those games, like the Valeria Card Kingdoms games and all that stuff. It's the
Yeah.
same
Yep. You're
same
right.
stuff.
You're right.
So it's just like I
You
don't
need to
know.
get really good at identifying what font that is. So just go into Word and study all the
Yeah,
fonts.
this is this. Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, but
All
anyway,
right.
yeah. So that's my number 98. We'll see. I don't see it getting really high on this list, but
Yeah.
it fits for what I need it for.
Nice. All right. My number 97 was 88. Nope, is 69 last year, and it was 88 the year before. Um, no idea why it's fallen, but it has. Uh, and that is Roll Camera, the filmmaking game. This game is a very strange game because the overall, I mean, just the cover of this with like the bean people, especially as I just noticed there's like two bean people making out,
Yeah.
and there's like, oh man, I need to crop that. I need to
There's
find that
Trump, there's
card.
Trump, there's Trump hair and all kinds of stuff going on in
Yeah,
there.
it's wild. But the overall theme of this is you are making a movie, and hell, even what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a certain number of scenes to fit a script, and the script can be changing. Everything you're doing is super thematic, to making a movie. Um, but and whenever you're done, it even tells you, hey, kind of tell the story of your movie. Not improv style, but that's the only improv element in the game, and it's whenever you've won or lost. But you're doing various actions to try and get, man, your kid just went in and was like prototype. Let me try and find prototypes for every single one of Seth's games. Um, but
Well,
you're
it looks
essentially
like it's computer, like it's
it,
on.
yeah, it does look like it might
Yeah,
be tabletopia, but you're essentially trying to. There's a score for your movie, and there's like this pink area that you're trying to get your movie out of, either acclaimed Oscar-winning movie or so bad it's good. And you do that, but you have a time limit and you have a budget, and that's why if you run out of time, you lose. If you run out of money, you lose. But everything else about this game is very strategic. Like the theming and everything I just mentioned does not coincide with the way you play this game, which is dice. You're rolling dice and assigning them to various actions that you need. So if you need to relocate a set, which you have tiles that you're trying to get to, you have to use certain dice. You'll have random events pop up that you have to deal with, but sometimes it might not be so bad. So you might just manage, deal with that random event. But if they get too many, then you start, uh, you know, hemorrhaging money. So you have to deal with all that. And that utilizes dice. And sometimes it's pairs of dice to deal with those. You'll have hands of event cards that people can play that are really good for everyone. But to play them, you have to call like a meeting, and everyone has their own hand, and then I'll be like, hey, I have one that's really good if we need money. And then so everyone can't really specifically talk about what they have, but they can allude to what they have in their hand. And then you can decide which one you want to play, trash or keep. Um, but you have various scenes they are trying to shoot, and those scenes they have like an arrangement of these tiles that are on the set floor. that need to be in a certain orientation for you to be able to play them. It is really a unique cooperative game. I very much enjoy it, but it's extremely stressful. Like I've had instances where, because that fog of war element where you can't specifically talk about in, what's in your hand. I was playing with a buddy of mine and he's like, "Well, I can help." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how can you help?" He's like, "Well, I got a car." I'm like, "What can?" I'm like, you can be a little bit more specific." Like, you just, "I can help." Yeah, we all can fucking help. We all have cards in our hands that can help. Um, but it's so unique. And I love that this isn't a tell a story game.
Right.
But I like how at the end, if you've won, you get to kind of improv what your movie is about. And I mean, that's really it. Like, everyone has special powers, and what's really cool, not special powers, special actions that you can do. If you're the director, you can do one of two things, but your special ability is very obnoxious to what your character is. Um, but it has no bearing on gameplay at all. Like, it's not like a special ability. It's just like, hey, if you're the director, you can boss everyone around. Like, that's the kind of idea that it's going for. So I really love how thematic this game is, but again, the gameplay is very stressful, I think. So that's it. That's my number
Yeah.
97. Roll camera.
All right. Like I
And they
said,
did actually, sorry, they did do an expansion for this called the B movie expansion that you need certain tokens for. It added a little bit more to it, but it wasn't my favorite kind of expansion. Like, I don't know if I'd always play with it. But then the way they started supporting it was hyper specific mini packs. Like, oh, it's the Christmas movie mini pack, horror movie, western, stuff like that. So I don't know what they're planning on doing for going forward with this, if they're going to do any bigger expansions, but I imagine they're going to go the mini route.
probably. Yep. Sounds good. Like I said, I don't put party games on my list, so
But that's the thing. It's not like it's not a party game.
I know.
You
It
would
looks like
think it
one.
is, though.
Yeah, yeah. All right. My number 97 was 70 last year, and it was probably, I don't know what it was before. It's been slipping slowly. And uh, it's one that I know you like too, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's on your list at some point. And that is Quacks of Quedlinburg. Um, this one is a super solid game. I mean, it's still on this list, of course, and it's just, this is another one of those, like I said earlier, that is an easy game to teach. But it's fun enough for gamers that are experienced with stuff.
Hmm.
And I like the push your luck aspect. It's got a good catch up mechanism with the rat's tails and all that stuff to try to go. But pretty much what you're doing in this game is you're just drawing tokens out of your bag, trying to create these crazy potions without blowing up. If you get, I think 7 cherry bombs is your limit. If you ever draw more than that in your pot, then you explode, and then you can only, because normally when you, at the end of a round, you can gain victory points and buy more ingredients and stuff. If you bust, then you can only do one or the other,
Yeah.
which could be pretty detrimental if you're looking at it. But yeah, I mean, and there's the tons of replayability with this game, because even just in the core set, there's probably 3 or 4 different potions per colored type. Like your yellow
Yeah.
potion, there's like 4 books.
Yep.
That, and they're all different and stuff like that. So you can play with all those different things. And then if you get the expansions, adds more books and different kinds of tokens and stuff like that. And this is just one of those that I'll always have, just because, like I talked with First Rat, this is just another one of those games you just toss in if there's going to be gamers that not super experienced, but it's a fun one. And
Hmm.
then I'm assuming you did the same as me, but I went and bought the BGG chits to
Oh, the
replace the
acrylic
cardboard ones.
tokens, and yeah, I have the unique bags as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, just because
Um,
those little tiny cardboard things were a pain in the butt to pull out
oh,
of
it's
bags and stuff.
pulling card that must be like a sensory thing for me. Pulling cardboard from a bag is disgusting to me. I don't know why. Yeah, like but it's like for some reason I'm just like, ooh, this feels weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is on my list. I'm trying to find it to see where specifically it's at.
Okay.
Uh,
I would be
but
surprised if it's not, but you never know.
yeah, it is a very solid one. Also, funny enough, that I've played this and the expansions with the same girl I played Istanbul with. So, I mean, Istanbul's not on my list, so maybe Quacks isn't either. No, I mean, this game is 100% random as well. Like you could be
Oh
pulling
yeah.
just so it is a just take it as it is. Even with the catch-up mechanism, like you could just completely still get hosed. But yeah, the bag building element of this game I find very satisfying. It's very fun when the tokens do come out in the order you want them to, and then you're just like, man, now man, I'm all the way at the end.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, well, you busted again. Oh,
Yeah,
But you're gonna get
exactly.
points. How'd it go with your 6 points?
Yeah. So no, this was a really nice or neat game when it came out back in 2018, which is crazy because that means it's 6, 7 years old.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Ugh.
time
Well,
flies.
it certainly does. The years start coming, and they don't stop coming.
Yep.
Well, my number 96 was 57 last year, and I don't have one for 2022, so my theory on new games falling is so far proven true. Um, and it's actually interesting because I remember this was on everyone's top 10 when it came out. And they do have an expansion coming out this year, surprisingly. And it's one that you and I had played for the first time together, and we were like, yeah, this is super solid. And it is, and it's a gorgeous game, and that is
Mm.
Earth. I
Yes.
absolutely love this cover
Yeah.
as well, even though it is photoshopped to hell. But it's absolutely beautiful. This does what nature, I mean, it's nature the game for all intents and purposes. It's not hyper specific. It's not only about birds. It's not only about fish. It's not even about dragons. There's no dragons in this game. Um,
Earthspan.
yeah, Rockspan. Um, it's it encompasses all of that, and what it does is you're kind of making your own Earth, I guess is like what the theme is supposed to be. And just the variety of this is what really keeps it on this list for me. So you basically will start out ever like tons of cards are double sided, whether it's like because your animals, your fauna are your scoring elements, and then you have like your own island, you have your own biome that you're kind of uh like, hey, here's where I'm at, and here's what's on my hemisphere or whatever it might be. But it's a tableau builder. You're utilizing different types of plants and event cards or weather to build up trees or build up spores, or I can't remember what the green cubes are called for
Gosh.
um for various types of effects and actions that you're going to get. But it does that system where it's like on my turn I pick an action that I want, but then everyone else gets the secondary action. I love that. That's always nice because it keeps it engaging. You're always doing something on your turn, and then whenever it's finally your turn, then you get to pick the action that you really want. Because when you do a green action or you do a blue action, all your cards that have a blue ability will trigger.
From top left
Yes,
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, top left to bottom right, it kind of goes in that order. So positioning does matter with how you're trying to score. So just again, the sheer variety, I absolutely love. The core game is more than enough. I have no idea what they're doing with the expansion. Um,
No idea either. I just backed it out of
yeah,
out of you know.
same, same. But what also kind of keeps me in this game is that every single card has a fact about it. And that's always fun. I love playing these nature games that whenever I play a card that's like, oh, hey, here's a fun little blurb about whatever, the Sahara Desert or about this type of meteor. that you're playing. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I know a lot of people have kind of, I imagine, have fallen off of this game, which I actually understand. I definitely don't think it deserved all the hype that it got when it initially came out,
Right.
but as time has cooled, I think it's still extremely solid to bring out. And weirdly enough, it's easy to teach someone, I think. I've been able to teach this to new players who weren't necessarily gamers, and they were able to grasp what was going on. Um, but there can be some elements if you get like a complex tableau, there's a lot of triggers you might be able to miss. But it's like a first, like people are going to understand it and then they're going to do better immediately the next game you play. So we'll see. What is it called? Abundance, I think
Yeah,
is
I
what it's
think it
called.
is. It's actually going to be getting here pretty quick
I
because
think
it's
so.
it's already like I think it's like on in the U.S. now.
Earth Abundance. Let's
Yeah.
see. Allows you to enhance the rich gameplay of the award-winning board game with new player interactions and opportunities to curate your hand. Actually, that, yeah, one thing about Earth is that it can be extremely random in what you're drawing. If you're looking for specific cards, there's not really a whole lot of ways to mitigate that. So it sounds like the expansion helps with all that. But it's almost like Arc Nova. Arc Nova had that same issue where it's like, man, I would really love some carnivores. Oh, none. There's none in the none in the deck. Oh, they're all at the bottom. And the expansion came out and helped you cycle through that a lot more. That sounds like what the Earth Abundance might do.
Right.
But yeah, that's my 96. Earth.
All right. Well, my number 96 is a game I never thought would make this list. I love the theme of this game.
The
Because
Deep Throat Caverns.
no, it's an IP of a video game IP that I really, really love. But
Hmm.
I there was a board game version of this that came out a handful of years ago that was kind of meh until you get the expansions that kind of made it better. Then they came out with a skirmish version of this game, which that's the reason I never thought I would ever get into this, is because it's a two-player skirmish game most of the time. But then they came out with a solo AI deck that you can play with all the different factions, and that's why I picked up just the core set right now, and that is Fallout Wasteland Warfare.
Interesting.
No, this is
Okay.
it's actually really nice. They the, the the core set is serviceable. Like there's a lot of stuff out there, like tons. This game came out in 2018, and there's so much stuff you can buy because you can buy
Really?
just like most miniature like miniature skirmish games like this. I mean, there's all these different factions. There's all this different scenery and just all this different stuff you can purchase for it.
Okay.
But it's really, really well done as far as the quality of everything. Except for this, the one complaint, like if you're going to get into this game, this core set has all the miniatures, all the cards, all the dice, all the range rulers, all that stuff, but it comes with a paper map,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
stupid. But there's all these places that sell like the 3x3 foot by 3 foot like neoprene scenery that you can
Oh,
do just to
okay.
place down on and stuff. So that's a quick fix. But you can buy all these different scenery packs and you can set up all these different that's actually the paper map, but it looks like they put plexiglass over the top of it, which wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's just like a normal deal, like skirmish game. You're going to start on each side of the map. There's some objectives. You're moving them in, range rulers, all this stuff. You roll dice to attack. The base game comes with some of the mutants and super mutants. Then you have the vault dwellers and the shit. I can't think of the name of them right now. The power armor dudes. Brotherhood of
Steel.
Steel. Yeah, but and it's
God, I
just one
thought
of
you
those
were a
like,
fan.
but the thing with this, like the solo AI deck actually works really well with this, and that was the one thing I really researched before I got this, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just some stupid AI deal, and the AI actually works really well.
Hmm.
The next problem is like, you know, the core box is, you know, the core box. There's you can only get so much out of it. So then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, do I start diving in and buying all this crazy shit, you know, and all this stuff? It's just like, because I
Is
can
the
print my own
solo?
scenery now, you know,
Oh
like
yeah, you can.
so the scenery is not the deal. It's just and then Modifius is the company that did it, and they made a weird choice. And this is one of the reasons why some people kind of went away from this game, is when you used to buy the faction boxes, it would come with all the cards and all the everything you needed, right? Now what they've done in a weird choice was, you buy these faction boxes, you get the faction boxes, but it may not have all the cards because you need to get all the things from the faction, instead of just having one box. It's all, you know, the railroad or whatever.
That's awful. That is a horrible,
No,
horrible.
I know, it's not great, but they also, you can download it online. So I mean,
Oh, okay.
they've made it, but it's, I don't understand what the thinking behind that was. So that's another reason why I haven't
Yeah.
went too much
Oh,
further.
that's
I
so
know
weird. It's I'm like it's
yeah,
definitely a money saving tactic, but why?
no, I know. So it is what it is at that point. But just gameplay aside, and I
Oh
probably
no,
will.
no, it's because it's Bethesda and you don't get the whole game. It's buggy,
Well,
so it's like missing half the shit, but it just works somehow. So you get some railroad, but just pretend that there's.
we'll call it a Modifius problem. How about that?
No, I can't imagine IP games. I really can't imagine that the actual owners of the IP have any hand in any of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this one's still putting stuff out for this one, but not nearly as much, because here within in the last 6 months, there's a brand new Fallout skirmish game, but it has to be played 2 player. Like, there's
Oh,
no
okay.
other way around it. So that one I steered away from. But then there's all this stuff.
I don't
Problem
know
is,
why.
this company is European,
Mm.
and so it, unless they get these sets like in, you know, miniature market or stuff like that, like, you have to pay a metric fuck ton to get any of this stuff. So that's why I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like sitting with this.
Yeah. Because speaking of like shipping over from Europe, I was looking up the new Heat expansion was announced, and I was like, no pre-orders in the States are up yet. Which I imagine the Heat expansion is not going to be that tough to get, like it was to get the core game. But there's a UK company that does have it for pre-order, and I was like, oh, I'll look up to that, and it was going to be like
Yeah.
$70 to ship it over here,
Yep.
like total. I'm like, a $25 expansion or to get for 70. I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'd say I'd give this a try with you. What I actually surprisingly hate, I hate that green. I know why they
Yeah.
did it because it's radiology or radiology. It's radioactive green.
Yeah.
But that is so ugly.
Well, and most people that get into this game, like in these skirmish war gamers and stuff like this, usually paint their shit
Oh yeah,
too. I mean, so
yeah,
that's, you know, I
yeah.
don't,
I don't know.
but
I mean, is there a VATS system? Is that what it's called?
well,
VATS?
loosely, it's not like
Okay,
it is in the game. It's not like
gotcha.
it was used in
Because
the board game.
these types
This
of games, I'm like, how do they differentiate themselves from each other? And I'm like, oh, Fallout, they have the VATS system. That would be super unique.
Yeah,
But if they don't really do that, then it's like, never mind.
I mean, there's a little bit of differences, and you get the feeling of the world, but it's just, you know, it's it is. But like I said, I'm not very into these skirmish games at all. Like, I've never have been, because I don't have anybody playing with, you know. So
Yeah.
I never, just having that solo AI is the only reason I went into this one, and it works. It works pretty well.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right. My number 95 is an honorable mention, is a crossover, actually.
Already.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I mean, it would either have to be Agemonia, Istanbul, or Quacks.
Yep, yep. Well, I already told you Istanbul is 177.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
my number 95 is
oh,
Quacks of Quedlinburg.
there you
That's why I couldn't find it because it was
go.
coming up. This probably has to be the highest rise because last year it was 148 and then the year before that it was 146. So somehow shot all the way up. And I know it had been like the year before that, I can actually see it. It was my 100
Right.
and then it rose that year too. So this is probably just gonna be one of those games that just leaps back and forth. And I agree. This game is an absolute blast to play. The expansions I think are really good. I like both of them, the Herb Witches and the whatever the other one
I
is.
can't think of what the other one's called either.
Uh, but I would not combine them with the base game. Like that just really overbloats it. But one of them allows you to go to extend further than what your cauldron um can hold, which is 35. You can actually extend further than that. Another one has these witches that have different, abilities, and then another module is you're trying to cure diseases that have different effects on them. They're really good expansions for a game that is, I mean, like you mentioned, core set has tons of replayability, and I love how I think they added not pumpkins. I feel like they did add a new color with one of the expansions, but I can't remember.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was trying to think of that earlier too when I was talking about it, but I couldn't
trying
think
to
of that from
instant
my head.
transmission from Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Z. Yeah, I can't. I gotta get out of here. Um, but they just have so much variety with each of those. I mean, you can either follow the books because they all have like a bookmark number on them, or you can just completely randomize it and just see what wacky combinations you can get with different ways of scoring or triggering effects. But um, even if you're getting shafted on pulls, like one, they do have ways to actually mitigate that a little bit with some abilities, but also the game's super quick.
Yeah.
Like the rat tail system, I think is a pretty good catch up mechanism because if you really are getting screwed, chances are you just have really bad luck. If your rat tail is that far ahead and you're still not getting far, it's just not your game, but it's over quick and it's not that big of a deal. It is a very fun beer and pretzel style game that works for both gamers and non-gamers. This is
Yep.
the one game I've been able to teach my mom, and it love my mom to death. Uh, it's like,
Yeah.
like I can't tell you how many times I've taught her horrified. I hate that game. I hate that game so much, and I'm like, I don't understand because she
Yeah.
does theater. She'll learn lines for plays, and it's like, what? Why can't you just remember
Yeah.
how to fucking move? But she was
Yeah.
able to learn this one, and that's a testament to this game. So that is my number 95.
All right. Well, my number 95 is also new to my list, but it's not a new game. It came out in 2012, and it's been one that it's been on your list for years.
Talisman, you finally came
No,
around.
no. But
It was the
this is
fifth
one,
edition that did it.
and I've only played this twice as of now, but I play it solo, and I don't have the big fancy version. I just have the regular old core game version, and I
That's
still have
something.
I haven't even come close to beating this game yet. And that is Robinson Crusoe.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
I spent years not playing this, and I've had a copy for a long time, and
I
and
thought this was on our Google Drive because you hadn't played it yet. You
well,
played it without me?
yes, I played
Why?
it solo without,
Oh, okay.
but playing it two players would maybe would
Yeah.
maybe change that because, but yeah, this is just one of those classics, like um that you're just trying to, whatever the scenario you choose, you're trying to accomplish stuff. But that card system thing that you've brought up every time we talk about this is like, you make your choices, you do your thing, but then that card comes back to haunt you,
Hmm.
or hell, I mean, it always seems to haunt me. I haven't seen any that's really come back to help me much over the past. But
I know there are some that are beneficial, but for the most part, it's not.
yeah,
I mean, unless I'm maybe if the benefit is that it's not so bad.
yeah,
Because usually it's like, oh, thank God we got 15 preserved food, and then the the bottom effect is Yeah, it attracted an army of bears.
Mm.
All your people died.
Yeah, this is a brutal ass game. Like and I'd always heard that,
Hmm.
like that there's people that play this all the time and still haven't beaten stuff. And I'm just like, my God. But then I finally decided to try it, and it actually it's a brilliant design.
Yeah.
Um, and
Horrible rule book.
yes, that's why
Um,
I was just getting ready, I was just getting ready to say that.
and I know that because the Dice Tower played with Ignacy, and they played it wrong.
Yeah,
So they played with I believe he's the designer, right?
yeah,
That's okay.
he's the
Yeah,
designer. Yep.
yeah. So now I have the game found version, so I believe the rule book's been redone,
Yeah,
and streamlined and stuff. But yeah, that original rule book, it's like, man, it's awful, which
yeah.
was
I'd
kind
like
of
to try
Portal
the big
Games.
fancy version just to see how
I mean,
different
the
it
fancy
is.
version
Yeah,
really is this, like, except it's
yeah.
organized better in a box. And I mean, my favorite part of the GameFound version is the scenario book. Like,
Mhm.
that is, it's awesome. Like, it's all organized in difficulty and like different what type of scenario you want to do. Um, so yeah, everything else is still kind of core to the game. All those various items you can craft and
Mhm.
stuff, and the barricades and the shelter and weather and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll keep it on the list because playing it with another person might be uh I might actually win or get closer to winning.
I wouldn't say that. I have beaten this game, um, but I'm not saying I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I think it is scenario based. Like there are clearly ones that are more difficult than others. But they're all super thematic, which is amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's you feel the pressure of the situation when you play the
yeah,
game.
yeah. This is a very very solid one. Um, so I'm happy it's on your list.
Yeah.
My number 94 was 94 last year, and it was 55 the year before, so it has stayed the same. And this is the only version of this game that is on here. I think I put in its sequel, but they're pretty much the exact same. And at this point, I think I just rather play this one, and that is
Oh,
Dinosaur Island, a
yes.
game that literally no one talks about anymore. Like
Yeah.
this one, for some reason or another, completely died, and ultimately, I mean, I think Pandasaurus just kind of doesn't do large games like this anymore,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. Uh, Even though a lot of their games that aren't dinosaur themed are bad, but
This was my 168 this
ooh,
year.
man, that really fell.
Yeah.
Dinosaur World is on your top 100, though, I
No.
imagine.
And I like this game.
I do too. Yeah.
I have not played this game in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it's fallen, just because
Yeah. It is
it's
actually kind of fascinating because I also haven't played it in a very long time, but the actual concept of it is so well done.
hmm
All the different phases that are isolated in and of themselves, but still connect to everything. So it's not like, I mean, the way you taught it to me is how I've taught it to people of explaining each phase, going through it, and then either resetting or just playing out the game after people understand each phase. But I mean, it's Jurassic Park the game. Like they just couldn't get the Jurassic Park IP, and I mean, building enclosures for various dinosaurs of herbivores and carnivores, and if you have the expansion, then you get the sea creatures. You're getting helpers to give you special abilities, either extra workers. You're utilizing DNA dyes to give you different types of DNA to make those dinosaurs to have enclosures, while you're also eventually going to open your doors to guests and then hooligans that you feed to the dinosaurs for breaking in and not paying the $3 entry fee. Um, it's it's so good that which is funny. It's like, oh, it's so good. Why don't you play it? That's a good question. I'm a
Yes.
reviewer, so I'm playing games all the time, and this is one that I really do just need to re-break out because
I would agree.
in my mind it's just it's still a 10 out of 10. And Dinosaur World is also good, and I mean it is a different game, but I don't know why that one just kind of feels like it's gonna be more complex whenever I want to break it out again because it's just such a table hog. And this is obviously a table hog too, but in a different way.
Right.
Like this one I feel like this one kind of evokes the feeling of Jurassic Park, but then Jurassic World, Dinosaur World kind of mechanism wise is more Jurassic Park because you're actually driving through your park and then you have to deal with, hey, here's the Stegosaurus, and then it loses popularity because it's like we've seen that before, and it's like, do you understand like how amazing this is? No, I don't want to see that. Oh, here's the new restrooms. Wow, like it's just
Right.
it has different elements. So I don't know. Maybe if I was never a dinosaur kid.
I really wasn't
Like
either.
I didn't grow up with a million dinosaur shirts going to museums all the time. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why this doesn't just hit my table all the time. But it really needs to because it's very good. And they did an amazing thing of how they varied the length on whether you want a short, medium, or long game, which I will say even if I don't have time, I'll never do a short game. You don't get anything out of it. It's too short. So medium or long is the way to go.
Yep, I would agree.
But yeah. So I mean, I was actually kind of surprised that it stayed on the list because I hadn't played it for so long, but here it is.
Yeah,
So that's my number 94, Dinosaur Island.
sweet. All right. My number 94 was on my list a while back, and it kind of has reared its head and popped back in again. It was 139 last year. This is a 2003 is when the original version of this game actually came out. But there's been multiple iterations, big boxes, all this different stuff over the years. And it's still one that I think it had fallen off because I hadn't played it. But this was one of the early games that when I kind of started getting back into the hobby back then, that I started playing, and I actually played it twice at our little Christmas board game retreat thing that we did, and it really went over well. And that
Thanks for the invite.
Well, it wasn't my party. So but it is Alhambra.
This game is very good.
Yeah.
This was I thought I saw it. Never mind.
But
Keep
this
going.
one, just the classic tile laying city build kind of game. It's very easy to play, so it's easy to teach, but it's very gamery, and there are decisions with this. I mean, I'm talking, this is on my list just with the base game. Like when you start getting the big boxes and the huge boxes, there's so many modules you can throw.
I was just gonna say I have the mega box.
Yeah,
it was 142.
Yeah.
And for that very reason, since I have the mega box, haven't touched it.
Yeah, and
like,
I want the mega.
It's 92 modules.
Yeah, I want all the expansions. I want that, but it's just so damn expensive, and I'm just like, I get enough. I don't play it all the time, but the core box gives me enough for what I do.
Man, if I ever want content, if I'm that desperate for content, I do a separate review for every module. Play a game of Alhambra. This module adds in a card.
Yeah.
So spend 15 minutes talking about that card.
But this one was, to me, it seemed like it was kind of ahead of its time in certain aspects, because you start off with a fountain in the middle of your city, and then you're drafting, or not draft. Yeah, you're drafting. I mean, but you are either taking money cards on your turn, or you're buying a tile that's out there. The interesting thing is that if you pay for something with exact money, then you get to take another turn. So that's something you really try to chain together. And you can only use, blue money to buy we don't have the scoring the little board, but like the tiles, it always confuses new people to start off with, because like you could have, like a red colored tile might be on a blue section, so you're paying with it with blue, and people are like confused, like they think you should be paying with the color of the tile sometimes, depending if it crosses over. But there's these four colors, there's four denominations of money, and there's four placements, and you'll just draw tiles out of a bag, place them there, you buy them. Like I said, if you do exact change, then you get to take another turn. You have a holding board, so if you want to buy something just to save for later, you can do that. When you build the deck for the money, you put different scoring. Like you break the deck up, kind of like Pandemic style, almost in a weird way, where you'll put little scoring cards in that deck. So when it is revealed, then you score. So whoever has the most whites gets this. Whoever has the most greens in their city does this. So on and so forth. There's 3 scoring phases. You also score your longest wall. So there's the placement rules. So you just follow that wall around, and the longest wall you score points for. It's a very simplistic game, but it is a good one. And
yeah,
I played it the last 2 times I played it with 4, and it's still awesome. I mean, the game doesn't take that much longer with that many more people, because the game end triggers when the last tiles are taken out of the bag. So I mean, the games actually can go a little quicker almost if you have more people.
Yeah.
And stuff. But yeah, this is it's a classic. And I still have the old version. Like, I don't even have this revised version that was pictured on the cover. Like, mine's the old 2003 version, I think, is the one that I have. But yeah, wow. I mean, this
21 years ago.
Yeah, I know. But this is just an outstanding little game by Queen Games that it actually won the Spiel in 2003 when it came out. So it's a top-notch one.
I agree. I just have that mega box just sitting. I organized it, and then I'm like, well,
I'll trade you my authentic 2003 core box for your mega box.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Nice. Yeah, this game is very good. That's why I have the mega version. I do need to again break that out. All right, good deal. My number 93. This is a pretty big fall because it was 27 last year and 15 the year before. And I think this mainly fell as hard as it did just through tastes have changed. Even though I think this game is still fantastic. Even though now I've played a version of this game that feels like this is what it's based off of. And the deluxe set, just fuck this company and that deluxe master set.
Oh, yes.
That is Teotihuacan, City of Gods. This is the version that I have with a nice 3D printed insert that organizes it all and doesn't come with a fat pile of shit, like the deluxe set did. This game is still fantastic. The dice worker placement game is. You haven't played this one yet, have you?
I played it once.
Okay.
I have it. I just haven't gotten it to the table a whole lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, this one, I mean, in terms of ease of play, I would probably put that as my favorite T game, but in mechanisms, it's not. Like Tawantin Suyu, and I mean, I even like
Zulkin?
Zulkin. Yeah, I finally played Zulkin.
Yes, finally.
And the expansion. Zulkin is very good. Oh man, which one do I like better? Zulkin's not on my list because I just played it finally for the first time, and it is very good. But that expansion, you can see the expansions that they pulled from the inspiration, and Tilatum. That was the other T game that I do actually like quite a bit. But Teotihuacan is a dice worker placement game, almost Rondell style as well, where you are utilizing the strength of the pips on your die to get benefits at these various locations to again gain resources to either buy technologies to build that pyramid, which to this day I have never played a game of this where it was ever completed, which I believe that is a way the game can end. but that's like a shared thing. I've played where one player, that's all he did, but if no one else is contributing, that pyramid's not getting completed. But you're going up on those three different tracks, which going up on tracks is always awesome. Uh, Something that is very needed in Zulkin, I found out, because if you do not go up on those tracks, you are not winning.
Yes.
Um, but and which is kind of like, I like this version because you don't have to go up on these tracks to win. You can get victor points through tons of other means. The expansions for this, not the Shadow of Zittle, but like the late pre-classic period, I think is the one that introduced the individual player powers, which is awesome because it does something player powers don't do a lot, which I think needs to be done more, where you get a really good ability, but it also has a really bad negative. And I like that dichotomy of like, man, this ability is awesome, but this penalty sucks so bad. Like, ooh, do I think the ability is good enough to overcome that? I really like that decision making. But your dice will go up in strength before they die, and then they go to that House of the Dead, and then you can go up on that track. There's a multiplicative set collection with the mass that can reward you a ton of points, and then an area control element with an expansion. All the expansions are module, which are the best kinds for these kinds of games, but it is extremely solid. Like, I don't think Zolkin is considered a T game.
It was the
Maybe it,
original one. I mean, I don't know if you consider it or not, but it was the first one that this team and this
yeah,
designer did of that.
yeah. I think it's been kind of adopted, like, because Teotihuacan, and then there was Tekhenu, and then Tawantinsuyu, and people are like, hey, do they only make T games? And then it's like, well, there was Zulkin by Daniel Tassini, and then it's like, yeah, I guess that's probably the first one. But it's so long ago. That was 2012 when that game came out, and this one was 2016. When did Teotihuacan come out?
Sure.
Teotihuacan 2018. So yeah, that was 6 years later that this game came out. Um, but yeah, it's extremely solid and will start you down a path of the T series. Which, did you see that Trismegistus is going back on crowdfunding?
I do know nothing really about that game.
I don't either.
I
I know that was the least liked.
yeah,
I think it was just overly complex. I think it's going to be streamlined, but
yeah.
um, yeah, Terracotta Army is also good. Telatum is very good. They have another one that's another T game that I still have. Tabanusi is also good. So the T series is just a strong. If anyone were to be like, what Euro game should I dive into? It's like just the T series. You just get into them. Kind of like people are like, what abstract game should I play? The GIPF series or whatever. Those Yinch and
Yeah,
Blorp
yeah.
and Glack, whatever their fucking names are. So that's my number 93, Teotihuacan.
All right. My number 93 made a pretty decent drop. Um,
It was number
and
one last year.
no, it was 39 last year.
Okay.
And it's a game I still really enjoy. And if I was trying to decide, and I've even played it this year, so I think there's another game that came out over the last year or two that is kind of almost taken the spot of this game, and I think that's why it's falling a little bit. And that is Era,
Mm.
Medieval Age.
I'm
Um,
wondering. I'd be interested again next year if you do the all your games
yes.
and then the top 100, where
Mhm.
these games would shift, because I mean, this could have just been paired up against solid bangers, and then it gets in that back
Yeah,
half of Pub Meeple.
yeah, I'll definitely do that next year, and we'll see if how it changes stuff. But I think this game suffers because if I'm going to play this game, or I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to play, and I know they're not the exact same game, but I get the same feeling, is World Wonders. Um,
Oh,
because
okay.
like I know they're not the same mechanisms or any of that jazz, but like for the depth and like the deal, like I'm gonna play World Wonders over this, like if I given the chance, just because of stuff. But this game still, this is the kind of the crowning achievement of this Matt Leacock series that started with, the Bronze Age and the Iron Age and all that stuff, that they where you roll the dice and you deal all the whether you have starvation or this and that, you gain resources through that way. But this one, it's condensed down from the little pegs and wooden boards that came in those other ones to, having the nice toy factor of having the built plastic buildings and all the plastic walls and all that stuff, and you put it all on your own little plastic little town like plate of stuff that you do. But so it improves all that stuff, because I remember, because we played Bronze Age and I know you didn't like that.
Oh no, I hated it.
Right, but this game has where it's not as penalizing, like when you do different things. So I think they've kind of they rectified that. This adds a lot of cool decisions in it, because you want to enclose your walls, because then that makes things score more. That's within the walls, and you're limited to the area of growth, because there's all these areas like the scorched earth stuff that'll take up spots depending on stuff. So you kind of have to watch what you're doing, and it looks neat when the game's over. You have a neat little city. There's all these little modules that you can pick up that add different buildings. The expansion adds rivers and roads. So then you have little river tiles going through your deal, and you can build stuff over the river and bridges and all this different stuff. I still really love this game. Like it's in my top 100 still. And like I said, I've played it a few times this year already. The only explanation I have is, like I said earlier, I think the weight of this game and everything, like when I'm looking at this, like World Wonders is kind of taking that spot when I want a game kind of like this. And we'll talk about World Wonders here in several sections, but
here, about 5 sections from now. No, this one, I hated, whatever, Roll Through the Ages or the Bronze Age, or, roll and get fucked the game. This one had that same feel, you still had the plague and all that, but it was definitely heavily mitigated. The different buildings and the kind of like Quacks, where it had just different types of that same building with different benefits, that opened it up a lot more. I actually have all the little mini expansions too. Which apparently some of them are very hard to get.
Yeah, the only thing I'm missing is the playmat, because you can buy a playmat off their website that lays it out, and then it puts spots for all the buildings and stuff. So
gotcha.
But I mean,
I don't have that. I don't care enough about this game to go out of my way to get that. But yes, it is. But like you, I never play it. In fact, like I was looking for it, and where it's so far down that my counting, like right now it goes up to 255, and it's further than that. So I'm like, well, it wasn't even seriously considered, but it is very good, and I do still have it in my collection.
Yep.
My number 92 rose, and because it was 103 last year, didn't rise too much because the company, as we have mentioned a few times, and they've clearly made it known they do not give a shit about their customer base. We finally got the expansion, because I'm pretty sure there might have been death threats where it's like, give us our fucking game. Like, and the expansion, while cooperatively isn't anything stellar, solo it is very good, and that is Sorcerer. With the Sorcerer Endbringer expansion. Oh man, I'm gonna get flagged. It has White Wizard Games on it, and they re-rated.
This one actually was one of the ones that did not make my top 100.
Oh, you really hate this company now.
No, it really it was 117.
Okay,
is what it ended up being. So go ahead.
Interesting. Because I figured the Endbringer would have shot this up for you.
You would have thought.
Yeah, you would have thought, but the company sucks. Sorcerer, I think, is a really fascinating game because it does the card design, I think, so well that it kind of overshadows its combat resolution. Because whenever you're playing the game, you have your domain, you have your character, lineage, and domain, and those are 3 separate decks, and each of those decks have like a special ability to them. Like in this case, it's Tengu, the Demonologist, at whatever that domain is. But all 3 of those cards are abilities, and you shuffle those decks into one massive deck that you are then going to use to try and control these three locations. So think Smash Up in a smaller format. Um, but one thing that's great about this game is that you have a certain number of actions and you have energy, and all your cards cost energy, but your actions can be used to draw cards. They can be used to gain energy, so you're not mana screwed. You're not having to deck build. You just kind of or deck construct. You just deck whatever that phrase would be called. Deck mush. You just deck mush.
Yeah, your smash
um,
up style. Yeah.
yeah, smash up style, which just allows for infinite replayability of various games. And one, the artwork definitely carries this game a lot. It's gorgeous, hard gothic style, and then the actual gameplay I think is very, very good. Again, if that combat resolution was Magic the Gathering style, where every enemy had like you just tap them to attack and stuff like that instead of rolling dice, and using fate to re-roll and all that is, I mean, it would probably be way higher, but alas, it's not. It is roll to resolve, and it is what it is. But the Endbringer expansion adds in what, four bosses
Yes.
that you're fighting up against, and each of those four bosses is different, and they have kind of their, you can mix and match, like there's like the boss, and then there's like a, I don't remember what it's called, but a thing about them, like almost like a apocalypse ability you can tie to them. So
Yeah.
even the bosses have like a mix and match style that you're fighting against, and I think that for some reason makes the combat better because it's me against the deck. I can handle rolling by myself and using fate to help myself re-roll.
Mhm.
I despise it in the in the 1v1.
Yeah.
Uh
Try playing it
so
with four players.
I would not ever do
It's
that.
horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible.
that's disgusting. And anyone who says they prefer this at 4 is straight up lying.
Well,
Like,
because I had to play it in all those player counts because when I was demoing this at Origins in 2019, they wanted us to be versed in the multiplayer aspect
yeah.
of it too.
Oh
And we sat
god.
there like we stopped, like we lied about it because we're like playing a 4 player game and we were like 3 hours into it and we're like, we're not even close to this being
That's
over. It's
insane
like,
that
fuck this.
they let, like, because
It
whenever
won't.
I
Yeah.
demoed at Gen Con last year and we had an hour time
Well,
limit.
no, we didn't do it. They like we any all the demos were 1v1. But
Oh,
they
okay.
just wanted us to be able to answer questions
I see.
about that. So that, yeah, we only, and it was only like 30-minute
Yeah,
abbreviated uh matchups. But
I gotcha.
yeah, but it was just like hell. And I mean, I even told people, they're like, how does this play multiplayer? I was like, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Like this is a 2 player game.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, and again, it's very good. You disregard the wise wizard bullshit with hero realms and star realms. Them just desperately trying to stay relevant. Um, we finally got our shit. Endbringer is a good expansion, and the characters I think are awesome. Like all the decks are great. I don't know if they're balanced because of the
Yeah.
mix and match style, but I don't think I've ever really played a game where it was so one-sided. You know, like with the mix and match, but you're probably going to get that. There's, thousands upon thousands of combinations, but it's still fun to figure out how your deck is going to work. And you would think, if like with Smash Up, you're thinking like, man, that's going to make your decks really, diluted, but it really doesn't. I think
No.
they all have a chance to shine with the character lineage and domain decks. But I just love the control you have with your actions.
Yeah,
If
that's
you're
what I was going to
like,
say. Being able to draw or
mhm,
give yourself more energy, stuff like that. I mean, it's a nice choice.
yeah. And then the area control is fine. You can use tactics, which are like special abilities only where your character is at. Um, and and yeah, I mean, it works. It works for the most part. But yeah, we'll see where this is at next year, honestly. Uh, if I'm playing it 1v1 or if it's gonna be, solo, which me and solo, it's like, am I really
Mhm.
gonna am I really gonna break this out? I mean, Yeah. I did. There is an insert, a 3D printed insert that you can get to fit everything in it. So in one
Interesting. I'll have to
box.
look at that.
But yeah, that is my number 92.
All right, my number
And I can
92.
promise you it's the only Wise Wizard game on my top 100.
I think that's well, actually, I don't have a Wise Wizard game. My
Yeah,
top
you
100
don't.
is. If I would have played Endbringer more, I think it might have been up here in like the 90s probably. I just
Yeah.
haven't played it a ton, so it just is where it is right now. But
Yeah.
and then I kind of have some biases also.
I don't blame you.
But anyway, okay, so my number 92 was 73 last year, and the only reason it's fallen, I believe, is just because I haven't played it. Um, I played this quite a bit with my wife, but it's a cooperative game, and she wanted to try it because of the theme of it, but then she still didn't care for it a whole lot. She actually likes another game that kind of does the same stuff as this more, but this one is Chronicles of Crime.
Does she like detective?
She likes detective better.
With Modern Crime or the City of Angels?
Modern Crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, she likes
Detective
getting on the
Modern
computer.
Crime is a lot more
Mm-hmm.
like we gotta think.
Well, because she doesn't do cooperative games anymore unless it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
The whole scanning the QRs and doing all that stuff didn't really intrigue her a lot. And I plan on playing through the rest of this stuff solo, but it's just not. It's kind of it's not the same, and you're not. You're saying, "Oh, I see this," and you're scrounge through and trying to pull cards out of the deck and stuff. It's like it's a little more difficult.
You take the VR off. Oh, playing by myself.
It's like, oh shit.
Oh, I didn't grab any of those cards.
so anyway,
you're just in the dark.
Yeah,
your wife
exactly.
left with the kids.
But that's why it's fallen, just because I haven't played it since we did that. I want to finish off the stuff. There's the whole Millennium series. I
haven't touched any of that. I did the 1400.
Yeah, I started that one too, and I haven't finished, but I want to finish through that just to see where it goes. I think they're pretty much done with this game.
Oh yeah,
because they aren't even really putting out app like missions anymore either.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot.
There's a ton. Yes, yeah. By all means, there's a bunch, but yeah.
And they have some hideous fucking people in this game.
Yes.
Like anytime that meth addict shows up, I'm like, it's him. Like, there's no way it's not him.
But when this game first came out, though, like, because you had it way before I did, but it was just an ingenious thing. Lucky Duck was always kind of that on that front line of using the apps and the QR codes and stuff in their games, and this was kind of their big banger to start with. Destiny's kind of was a drop off. We're waiting to see with the one that's getting ready to deliver here in a month or so.
Dark Quarter.
Yeah, because it's in California now. If you didn't notice that, they said it'll start shipping in February. So that'll be exciting. But this one's
I can't wait. It'll show up right with Dragon Eclipse and Iridia. I have so much time.
I know, it's so much. I saw a picture of somebody posted they got their Dragon Eclipse, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm only gonna be playing
just in time for what is it? Odalin?
God.
Odalin, yeah.
So much. There's like 13 boxes in that.
I need to buy like 15 game tables and just have them all in like a row.
Yeah. So anyway, this one just failed mainly because it just hasn't been played. I like the game, and it's my highest crime game, I think, right now. That could change once I start digging into Detective City of Angels a little more, but because I've only played the intro mission of that one. So we'll see how that all goes. But for right now, Chronicles of Crime, it's still hanging on strong.
Sorry, I was counting. There are 38 missions in Chronicles of Crime.
There you go. Plenty.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yes.
And yes, I do very much like this. I agree. I think the QR code, the novelty of it is kind of actually annoying. Because only one person gets to really look. And that's I mean, it is cool. It's very ingenious for a board game, like to really kind of have that VR element that no game has done except Destiny's, which who cares? And but then it's like if someone else wants to do it, then you just kind of have to rinse and repeat. Maybe they'll see something, or because like all those QR suspect things are vague. So it's
Yeah.
like I see some shart on the floor, and it's just like that could be whatever. I pulled something different that might apply to that.
You know what would be cool with this actually, just now thinking about it? Um, if you have a group of people that is playing this, with the iPhones being what they are now, you can screen mirror to your TV.
Oh yeah, you could. Yep,
That
that's
would be
true.
interesting. And then like one person would control where they're looking, but everybody else could be
Can
looking
see it
around
and
and
they
be
can
grabbing
call
stuff.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
that's
an
a good
interesting
idea.
thing because then everybody would be involved.
That's true. That
That
would
would be
that
kind
would
of
make
cool.
that a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing about this game that I also enjoyed was there was like a time element. Like people
Hmm.
would kind of move from location to
Yep.
location. Um, but I do think between detective, modern crime, I think the writing in terms of the who done it is done better in that one. And
Yeah.
hell, the Sherlock Holmes, I think are some of them are done better too. But yeah, this one's very, very good.
Yep.
All right. And the final one for this first segment of the top 100, my number 91 was 58 in 2022 because I did not own it last year. So I owned it in 2022, sold it, and you know me, and I think I've mentioned it before, I very, very rarely rebuy games. Like if I
Right.
sell them, it's like, okay, goodbye. But when I sold this, I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I kind of really want to get a copy again. So that's kind of a testament to this game and why it's back on the list. I imagine this will be higher if I can actually, get it played more. And that is
Mm.
Unsettled.
I was actually getting more interested in this now because
Really? Oh, because
I didn't want to do much, but I've been hearing other podcasts and stuff because they just got like stuff and we're talking it up, and I'm like, you know what, I might have to try this sometime.
this one is okay. So the idea behind it is very ingenious. And Orange Nebula, I mean, they don't have a lot of games, but they really like to push the boundaries of concepts. And sometimes when companies do that, like Mythwind, for example, it's like, man, that is a good idea. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work in the long term. The concept of Unsettled was kind of a plug and play adventure, like planet adventure game where you drop on a planet, it's survival on the planet, but each planet, has a different type of biome and a different puzzle for you to figure out. Um, but their core set was like this big weird rectangular box that could only and you would have these other smaller boxes that were the planet boxes that only fit like two planets in it, but then everything else was the trays that you just are organized and you pull out. And the way that they kind of explain it, I think in the rule book, is that the core box is like the DVD and all the planets are the DVD player, or the core box is the console and all the planets are the video games that you're going to play. I think is how they describe something like that. And luckily, there's also a 3D printed insert that you can get where it fits everything in the core box, which makes it way sexier. But what's fascinating about this is it is completely like take which planet do you want to go to and what puzzle do you want to solve because each planet has multiple like scenarios that you can be on as you're going from location to location exploring trying to figure out ways to solve it and survive while you're on it, but dealing with the hazards and the unique hazards of each planet is extremely fascinating. Now, it's been a hot minute since I've actually played it, so I'm not 1,000,000% on the specific mechanisms that utilize this dice because it's been a bit, but that's why it's kind of at 91 instead of higher because I'm going off of past memory of when I did play it. But like this planet, for example, is kind of like your fungus planet that will deal spores and spread spores if you're going to certain locations, and that can, if you inhale it, then that can kind of uh, that can kind of mess with your character and give you different conditions. There's another one where the planet is like on a night and day cycle, or like a hot and cold. I can't remember if it was like a yin and yang. There was opposites on what you're dealing with. But your different scenarios for the different planets and ways to go about proceeding through those. The writing, while there's not a lot, this isn't like a storytelling game or anything, is very well done. It's extremely witty, and uh and that's why I think this is also why I wanted it back, because it wasn't a campaign game, but it was kind of like an exploration adventure game where you're not tied down to a campaign. You can be like, oh, which planet do we want to do? And they all have different difficulty levels and things like that. And then there's different modules from expansions you can throw in. But yeah, this one is extremely unique, and I'm excited to get it back onto the table to dive into the different planets. This is a series I plan on doing, to play every planet. Just gotta find that time. So that is my number 91, Unsettled.
You should add this to our list, as I would like to try it at some point. Just because, I may not like it, I might, but
you might, yeah.
Yeah.
You might like it. I've only ever played this at 2 players.
Yeah.
So, which that would be the max that I would play this at.
Because it's soloable since it's cooperative, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
a million percent. It's I imagine actually Board Game Geek has it as best at 1.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, it actually says best at 2.
Okay.
But a lot of the people recommend it at 1.
All right. Okay. My number 91 was 48 last year. And it's probably going to settle in like around in the 80s, 90s, somewhere around there. I really enjoy this game. The solo is serviceable. Like it's okay solo, but I would prefer to play it with another player. But that's the problem. It's few and far between finding people that'll play it with me. So that's kind of why it's. If I played all the time, it would be much higher.
Yeah.
You do not care for this game, and that is the Sniper Elite, the board game. Now, I haven't played it a whole lot because I've played out the solo a little bit, but
okay,
they are creating currently more expansion content for this. That's going to go back up on Kickstarter again.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it's supposed to be more. They're revamping the solo system to make it where solo is actually going to be a solid part of this game, which excites me because the solo's fine, but you're just like rolling this, D4 and doing different stuff with it.
It makes sense that they would really focus on the solo because the video game is solo.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know how far it is away from coming out or being on crowdfunding or whatever, but David Thompson's involved, all the same people, but revamping the solo system, making that a big focus is really going to be good for this game, I think, because
nice.
Because I enjoy playing it now. I like having the playing against other people and trying to outsmart them, and the sneaking around aspect and the noise aspect of different things, the bag pulling, you're pulling chip or black poker chips out of bags, doing different stuff, and for your range and shooting and whether you hit. There's just a lot of cool stuff, and being able to sneak around, because in this game, just like in this picture here, this is all the Germans, the Nazis, and your character's not on the board. The only time, your character's on the board right there, but you're not on the board normally unless you've been spotted or make noise, and it puts you on the board. Most of the time, you have a dry erase board, and you're marking what section you're moving into each turn, and you have different objectives, whether you're trying to go and disarm this bomb or do this or that or whatever, steal these documents or and stuff like that. You're trying to do that. So you don't necessarily want to be going in guns blazing and kill everybody. You want to sneak around and have as little conflict as possible and then get to the exit.
Yeah.
But the Germans, they have their own actions and they're moving around and patrolling and doing different stuff like this. And so I've played it on both sides. I enjoy the sniper side a lot more. Because I like the whole sneaking around. I love the video game for that reason. I love sneaking around and being super patient and like just super slow crawling on the ground and doing stuff before, and trying not to get firefights going. But yeah, and it comes with the double-sided board. So there's the sub deal, and then there's this one. Then there's the Eagle's Nest expansion that has another double-sided board that adds a few more characters, and more items and stuff like that. And then I don't know what this next expansion is going to do, but and when you're the Germans also, like you have each color, because there's 3 different colors of squads, and each one that has that symbol underneath them is kind of like their leader of that squad, and they have a special power too and different odds and ends, so that they can only use, I think, like twice in a game. I think.
Yeah, it was limited.
So anyway, this is an IP game that I enjoy, and then I'm super excited. This will probably, if the solo thing comes out here in the next couple of years and is as good as what they're saying it will be, and I have a little bit of faith in it with the designers, and all that stuff, because David Turkey did the solo aspect of this.
Yeah,
but
it should be really good.
It should be. Then it should be really.
It's
really
a Glass Cannon Unplugged, right?
The
publisher.
Yes, Rebellion.
Oh, Rebellion.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to sit back and remember why I didn't like this.
You didn't because.
Oh, the puppy dogging. Yeah, the puppy guarding. I hated that.
Yeah, because we played it both ways. Because I played it as the sniper, and it went around that way, and then I also just kind of started guarding objectives when I was the Germans, and
and
like
it was
that.
and the shooting was random.
Yeah, you're pulling out of the bag and
pulling
stuff.
out of a bag. Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it comes down to hidden movement games. Like I have the ones I like, and it's hard. That's a genre that's hard to have too much of, I think.
Yeah.
Like people are like, I have all the hidden movement games. It's like, really? But yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense why you would like it. I don't even remember what I gave it. Like,
I don't think you cared for it a ton.
It's so funny because as soon as this came out 3 years ago, I give it a 5.
Yeah.
Which apparently is the worst score you can give anything. It's like, wow, that's basically a 1. It's like, no, I thought it was average. Like, I mean, if you were like, dude, please play this with me, I'd be like, okay. Yeah, all right. But okay, that was it, everyone. That was our first segment for our top 100 for 2024. I hope you're enjoying. Stick around for the rest of the top 100. Let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.